we're sitting there talking to the guy, and Norm finally looks at him and is like, "So, how many cigars do you smoke a day?" And you remember his answer?
I remember his answer. He goes, 17. Oh, no, this is my 18th cigar today.
You're watching the Marketing Misfits with Norm Farrar and Kevin King.
Hey, Norm, what's up, man? How you doing?
I have not seen you in a long time. How's it going?
I know it's been, what was it?
Yep, the Cigar Fest, at your house. 11 straight
Fest.
Days of 2-3 cigars a day.
That's right. In case you guys haven't noticed, you see in the logo for the podcast there, right behind us, this way, and right behind Norm, you see two dudes with their heads. That's me and Norm. The guy with the beard is not me. That would be Norm.
That's me.
Smoking cigars. But I remember when the guys designed the logo, they gave you a freaking pipe. I was like, Norm,
yeah.
I think you were the same way. Like, what the heck is this pipe?
It was a meth pipe.
That's what I kind of figured, I was like, are you going back to your Hawaii days?
Yeah, right.
Going back to the Hawaii days?
I had no idea why a pipe, but it's a cigar. I'm glad we got that changed.
Norm and I got together, and I think it was in Hawaii. It's your event, and we smoked a cigar out on the beach, and I think we told that story in the last pod. And since then, every time we get together, it's become a tradition to smoke cigars. So that's the only time I smoke. I don't smoke daily. I only smoke socially, and I've done it a few times without Norm, with other people, but it's usually with Norm that I'm smoking a cigar.
But you know what? A cigar is a way that we can sit down, we can relax for an hour, hour and a half, or when Kevin and I get together, 3 cigars, so 3 hours later. But
sometimes 5 hours, like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, like that's what I was just going to say. We talk not 1, not 2, but we'll talk the whole night through. Like the sun's rising and we're finishing up our last cigar. But just being able to do that, I don't drink. I have my Coke Zeros. Kevin wants to have a drink, go ahead. But it's a brotherhood. It's you go anywhere. And we did this just recently. We went down to Las Vegas, and this is all leading to something, by the way. But we went to our first Big Smoke.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really cool. Norm tells me, Kevin, we're going to the Big Smoke. I was like, what's the Big Smoke? He's like, this is like this big cigar event, like 2,000 people smoking cigars, and you get all these really cool cigars. And I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. I'm in. When is it? And he's like, it's in early November. I said, that's when my birthday is. He's like, even better, I'm buying the tickets. We're going VIP all the way. Don't worry, this is on me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we went to Vegas for the Big Smoke, and this event was really cool. It was like trick or treating for adults. Oh, yeah. You remember that? So we go into this event. You pay. What would we pay? Like it's like $1,000 or something for this VIP ticket. But what that got us was like early access. Got to go to a couple special other little events where they're passing out cigars and stuff. First night, everybody goes. They have a really nice little cigar bar in Resorts World in Vegas. So we go in and have a meet and greet, and they're passing out some really good cigars. And like you said, you're just sitting there having a cigar, and people sit around you, and you instantly have a camaraderie. Instantly, like you're like a brotherhood. It's like, it doesn't matter what they are, if they're a doctor, if they're a lawyer, if they're a construction worker, whatever.
And this brotherhood of this camaraderie that you find with these people has led to a lot of things. We started out doing this in Hawaii, like we talked about the last podcast. And there's like 16 people out there.
Yeah, on this balcony overlooking the street, yeah.
We were having a blast. And what this allowed us to do, not intentionally, but you start to build up business relationships. And I think this is what I want to talk about a bit today is, finding that niche. One of these ways of not having to go out there. By the way, this happened. I went to this multi-level marketing event about 20 years ago. And I get into the event, and I knew this wasn't for me when the guy at the door came up, shook my hand, says, hi, I'm so-and-so. And he gave me a piece of paper in his hand. I opened it up. It was folded, and it was like a photocopy of a check. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's what I made last month." And it was like, big deal. It's not all about the money. And we talk about this a lot. I'd rather break bread, smoke a cigar, get to know a person, and then possibly get into business with the person or be part of my network. Because birds of a feather flock together. And that's like us. We would never have got to be as close as we are right now. And we wouldn't have had, I know a lot of my network has come through these cigar meetings. Even with my other podcast, what's happened? You've met a lot of the guys that have listened to my podcast. We go out there. I tell people, we're going to be at this event. Come and have a cigar with Kevin and I. All of a sudden, all these people show up from listening to either my podcast or Kevin's podcast. It's really cool. And the other thing, Kevin, have you ever seen an argument in any of the circles or tables or clubs that we've ever gone to? Have you ever seen one?
No, I haven't. Not when we're smoking cigars. No, there's never been. Sometimes someone might get a little political or something, but usually that gets cut in the butt pretty quickly, and we change the direction. But no, never anything. And like you said, Norm and I now, we're older guys. We're not in our 20s anymore. We're not.
We're fossils. I hide my own Easter eggs.
Did you find them this year? Or did you find one like a Christmas?
They keep popping up. I forgot about that one.
Shake it. There's a quarter inside. Like, this one's got something in it.
1975. That was the.
What year is this one?
I started losing it a long time ago.
Yeah, so we hide our own Easter eggs, exactly. No pun intended on that. But so yeah, we're not going out to the clubs. Sometimes you go to these events that we go to quite a few events, e-commerce events, and some of the younger ones, they want to go out and drink, and like, nope, Norm and I are like, since Norm doesn't drink, I do drink, but I'm not a big drinker. We're like, nope, we're going to the patio over here. We're going to this cigar lounge, or we're going. Whoever wants to join us can join us. And we go out there. Sometimes it's very rare, but sometimes it's just the two of us. But usually, remember in Chicago, it ended up being like 15, 20 people coming out there. And you just, you're meeting people, you're having decent conversations. You're not talking over loud music, and you're not in their ear, in their face trying to have a conversation, which I hate that about networking parties is they just suck for the most part. But here you can actually have decent conversations, get to know somebody, have a good time in a chill environment. And we just did it on a cruise. We went on a cruise in January, Sellers Cruise, and we did the same thing. Every night after dinner, it's like, all right, me and you had our little cases, with cigars. Anybody want to come?
Biometric cases.
Yeah, biometric cases. Looks like a gun case. These things. These are badass. They're really badass. And we go down and we have our cigars, and anybody wants. We put the word out. Anybody wants to come can come. And we're on this deck. We're the smoking deck on the ship. And sometimes there's 5 or 6 of us. We had a lot of nights, 10, 15, 20 people. We're having to like grab chairs from other areas and bring them over, and then we share cigars. So if we know you're a real smoker, and there's a couple like real smokers there, all right, you get a good one. But we always have a few cheaper cigars, I guess you could say, or ones that are not quite as high quality, because we know there's always going to be somebody that wants to try, and it's their first time smoking. And inevitably, it doesn't matter how good the cigar is or how bad the cigar is, they take 6 or 7 puffs and they leave the rest. So I don't want to give somebody a $100 cigar to take 6 or 7 puffs.
Oh, I've seen that at parties.
Then set it down. Remember that? What was that place in? Where were we in New Jersey? In New Jersey, we went to me and Norm went to this event. I spoke at it. Norm was there, and then at night, we're like, you knew the fellows that own the cigar stuff, and you called up this guy. You have to tell this story about him. He just had a baby, and he left the hospital to come have a cigar with us. That's
his crazy. Connie's over there. She would kill me if I ever left when any of the kids were born, to go and have a cigar with with some friends, I
This
would
guy
not be
just had a
here.
cigar. This guy just had one of his workers was at this event, and he brought a few cigars because he knew Norm and I were into it. So the event, everybody's leaving. It's 10 o'clock at night. Everybody's like, it's a school night. I got to go home. Norm and I'm like, no, with the fellow's worker, we're like, let's have a cigar. So he calls up his boss, says, hey, I'm here with Kevin and Norm having a cigar. He's like, I'm on my way. And he comes, and literally they swept up the place. They tore all the tables down. We're like sitting at this one little table in the middle of the room.
Last people.
And like they shut off all the lights except us. And then when they left, they're like, make sure you lock the door. I mean, we're in the middle of a freaking warehouse, like a real warehouse, just smoking these cigars. And the guy comes, and we're talking. And everything's good. And he's, how are you? It's like, well, my wife just had a baby 2 hours ago, or something like that. And we're like, what? He's like, what are you doing here? He's like, no, you guys are here. I want to have a cigar. This is important. That's my sixth kid. Who cares? Something like that. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? But back on that ship, people would come out at night. Sometimes the talk would be just about life, or cool stories about other business things we did. I remember one night Abe was out there. You remember Abe, and he was giving us a lecture, not a lecture, it was a presentation, an oral presentation on how to do something. It was like step by step how to do some sort of thing. It's like, that was really cool.
Yep.
And
yeah, absolutely.
and some people come in and out of these things, but it's really cool. But Norm, and we did this at the F1 event when we did the Collective Mind Society. We went to a cigar lounge the first night, took everybody to cigar lounge the first night. And then the last day, some of us still left before flights. We went to another cigar lounge. So you might say, someone's listening is like, damn, you guys, is that all you do is go to cigar lounges? Sometimes, but it's cool. So what is it though? The people that are listening and they're like, hey, I want to try a cigar. I've never actually smoked a cigar. What would you recommend for a new person, actually? Because you're way better at this than me. I mean, how do you get into the cigar? What's the first steps?
Well, there's some things that I see a lot of people doing that are, especially in a humidor, that you don't want to do. So the first thing that turns me right off is when somebody brings it up to their nose. And that's a no-no. So you'll go into a humidor. A lot of people will be, handling them, and that's fine. But don't bring it up to your nose. That's just, and typically I see a lot of newbies, somebody wants to smoke a cigar, and they'll just pass it to somebody to take a drag on, right? And if they don't do that, typically I won't do that. But I've seen people cut them in half. And that's not correct either, because tobacco, or when you're making a cigar, you're not using just the same tobacco all throughout the cigars. You're using, you'll have a different experience as you smoke the cigar. So if you just cut off the end, that's not what the cigar maker intended. So you can do it if that's your last cigar and you want to share it with somebody, but I would never do that. I always like going with when you take a look at cigars, there's all sorts of leaves. I like the lighter or milder cigars to recommend to people, and that's called the Connecticut leaf, but it's the very light brown leaf. If you start smoking some of the darker leaves, like the not the Macanudos, the Maduros, it's a darker leaf, and it could be stronger. So you've got mild, medium, and like a full body cigar. And Cubans are usually full bodied. So I would recommend going for a Connecticut leaf, and usually the company that I would go to, the go-to company for me to recommend is just a Macanudo. They're so mild. There's a variety of different types of cigars that you can have, and depending on my go-to would be a Robusto style. So that's a 5-6 inch cigar, and it's usually around a 50 gauge, I believe, and that's just the roundness of a cigar. But that's probably what I would suggest people do. And also a couple of other tips. When you're cutting a cigar, you don't take off a 1/4 inch. The best way to do it is if you have a cutter, if you're brand new to it, you just want to take off the tip. So you've got 3 layers of tobacco: the binder, the filler, and the wrapper. You're just taking off that little piece. Like if you take the cutter, put it on the floor or on the desk and cut it, that's all you need. Inexperienced people will take the whole chunk off. It's half the cigar. But those are a couple of things. And then lighting it is very important too. So when you're lighting a cigar, you don't want to just have your cigar buried into a match or the sulfur, because that's going to go right through your cigar. You're going to taste the sulfur. You could have a longer wooden match, and you bring your cigar just above and you turn it, and you want it to have sort of a gray ash. Okay, it's called toasting your cigar. And if you do it the right way, it might take 30 to 60 seconds. And here's some really important points. Just because like a lot of people are trying to get it done like a cigarette, and then you start smoking it, and then you're only getting a certain edge. You want to make sure that it flows evenly. And the last point I'm going to say is, if you're new to cigars, there's 2 points. If you're new to cigars, the average person smokes it way too quick. And you'll notice that it's burning weird. It'll run too hot. You don't want to smoke, I would say, at least 30 seconds before you bring it up and try it again. And my last point is, if it's the first time smoking, you might not feel that great. And just put the cigar down if you feel lightheaded. One of the things, and this is for experienced cigar smokers, one thing I've learned is some cigars have put me on my butt. And I've taken a package of sugar. And I travel, Kevin knows, I travel with sugar. People go, what the hell are you traveling with sugar for? Well, if I have a bad cigar, or not a bad cigar, too strong, if I haven't eaten, and it's just not right, like I start to feel a little dizzy, I'll just take a pack of sugar, put it under my tongue. If I don't have sugar, I'll just have some ginger ale or something with sugar in it. And that usually calms that dizzy feeling, that nauseated feeling down. But it's great. Oh, and by the way, Kev.
Well, I was just say, thank God you have those sugar packets, because I'm tired of giving you piggyback rides when you feel dizzy.
I really enjoy those piggyback fights,
I'm tired of giving you piggyback rides and like dumping you into the bed and tucking you in. That just is not my jam. So just to let you know, in the future, you better have those sugar packets ready.
All right. Very good. Very good. Oh man, lots of piggyback rides. But you can get a lot of people that you'll bring out more information about that person than you ever would. And if somebody's just coming up and they're sitting there, maybe they're not smoking a cigar, because a lot of people don't either. They don't want to partake in it. That's fine. Have a drink, have whatever, sit down. We're open to conversation. But one of the things that I think you'd agree with is that the people that aren't, a lot of people that come and want to sit down, all of a sudden they want to talk business right off the bat. And I don't mind answering a question or two, but just chill. We're here to, enjoy each other's company. And remember in Paris, I think it really came out in Paris with a lot of people when we were Kevin and I went to this event. A friend of ours put it on, Howard Ty. And we were in this 9th century castle. And every night we'd go out and we'd have this fire. And people would just sit there and have a drink or a cigar or both and just talk story. Mm-hmm. It was so cool.
No, that was cool. I mean, it was around this like little bonfire, and there was a stack of like real wood over in the corner, like 30 feet away. And every once in a while, someone would get up and go get another log, throw it on, and keep the thing going. And we were just sitting around there. I think it was after dinner. One of these things after dinner started like around 9:00. And I remember it got to be about midnight or so, and we're just, some of it's business talk, some of it's just general. And then I remember Rich was there with us, and Rich was like, I got a 5 a.m. flight. I got to go get some shut-eye. So he starts to walk away and gets about, 40, 50 feet away, and he hears us laugh or someone says something. And he's like, and he turns around and comes back because he's afraid he missed something. And so he's standing in his chair. He had a little chair, a little folding chair, So he's standing behind the chair, like, I'm not going to sit down. I just want to hear the rest of this story. He's standing in that chair for like an hour because the stories keep going and the stuff keeps going. Then he's like, I really got to go to bed, guys. This time I'm really leaving for sure. He walks back in. We can see him walk into this little hallway. There's these windows on the glass of the hallway once you get back inside the castle. And we can see him get about halfway down the hallway, and it's one of those, screw it. He turns around and comes back out and sits there until I think it's time to go to the airport almost. So it was, but that's the power of these types of things. Whether you smoke a cigar or not, it's the chill. And remember when we were in Vegas, we were at that for this big smoke, and while we're there, at night, we're like, let's go try some of the different cigar places around Vegas. We've been to Vegas, you and I, 100+ times probably each, and we've gone to a few of the places. But there's this new one that people are saying, oh, it just opened up tonight in the Venetian, so you should go. Or it opened up last night. It was the first weekend anyway, and then we're like, oh yeah, let's go check it out. So we truck it over to the Venetian one night. And we're sitting there having a cigar in this nice little lounge.
This is the Monte Cristo, right?
Yeah, the Monte Cristo. Just having a little talk. And this guy that's sitting next to us gets up to go leave. And Norm was like, oh, that's a better chair. We can have better conversation. So Norm looks around, looks like the guy, had left, takes his chair, moves spots, moves his drink, his Coke Zero and everything over. A few minutes later, the dude comes back. It's like, that's my seat. And Norm's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me move back. So Norm moves back. Turns out this guy is like a serious freaking player in the cigar world.
It was his lounge.
It was his lounge and his company's lounge. And we're sitting there talking to this guy. I mean, he's telling us stories about the music industry, about cigars. And we're marketing guys. That's why this is Marketing Misfits. So of course, we're going to be like, what's the demographics of a cigar smoker? This guy, anybody knows, he's, the average, it's like $212,000 a year. They live in this kind of house. They do this and this and this. And he was, so we were grilling him on some marketing stuff, but then he's telling stories about the music industry, how his son is like, knows all these rappers and has a studio and does all this stuff. And then he whips out these cigars. Like, this is like a special edition. Sorry, this is the last one, or I'd share it with you.
That was the Monte Cristo one.
Yeah. And then he's like, "What?" And inside the humidor there, you should go try this particular one. So I go in there and grab a couple for me and Norm. Excellent cigar. We're sitting there talking to the guy. And Norm finally looks at him and is like, "So, how many cigars do you smoke a day?" And you remember his answer?
I remember his answer. He goes, 17. Oh, no, this is my 18th cigar today. But I forget what he said, how many he smokes on a normal day.
It's like 9 to 10, I think he said. Somewhere around in there. It's a lot. I was like, have you been to the lung doctor lately? I mean, what's his cardiologist and his lung doctor say? But the guy looked, he looked good. And it turns out there's this other guy that was sitting there. And he joins into the conversation. He knew him somehow, or he met him before, maybe met him the night before.
He was skittish, though. You remember?
He's a little skittish.
He didn't want to approach him, and he couldn't believe he was talking. And we're sitting there kind of looking.
Yeah, this guy was like starstruck. And me and Norm were like, who's this dude that wants Norm's chair? It's like some dude wants his chair back. And we're like, oh, sorry. But other people are like starstruck. Waitresses are coming up to the guy like, yes, sir, what do you need? Like treating him like a king. And Norm and I are like, who's this random dude? But it turns out it was awesome. I mean, he was a cool guy. Told some great stories, and this other guy sits there and he starts telling us about here's just asking about the marketing stuff because we're misfits, we want to know about marketing. And so he's like, oh yeah, you got to check out this chick she's the cigar girl on social media. She has an Instagram following of this. She's this hot chick that just like smokes cigars and talks about the latest stuff, and all the dudes follow her. And then you got to check out this one and this one. He's given us all this like stuff to like check out and to follow. That a lot of it some magazine we'd never heard of, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it was really cool, and then some fascinating stories about working with one of the big rappers or something.
There's tons, yeah,
tons of them. Working with the Eagles or something like that. This guy's in the record business.
Group, the Eagles.
Yeah, that's not a rap group, but one of them I think was the Eagles as well.
Yeah, he worked with just so many people, but this is cigars. It leads you from one person to another person. And by the way, Kevin, I want to say something about politics and religion. I don't believe that in a cigar lounge you should ever bring up politics and religion.
I don't either.
But I have been in cigar lounges, and even at that event when politics and religion have come up, and it's not, I have to hate you now because you disagree with me. Is that, I'm going to go back to it, is that you can have an opinion, you can state your opinion, and nobody's going to hate you because you have an opinion. And that is powerful.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know what it is. It's like an unwritten code when you're smoking cigars with a group of people that you don't know. It's just like it's like a instant bond. It's kind of like I kind of relate it to like I went to Texas A&M University. So Texas A&M University, everybody has their college, but Texas A&M University in Texas is kind of unique. Just to give you a little backstory, just to illustrate how unique it is, it used to be an all male military school. So until the 1970s, it was all the school was founded in the 1800s. So until the 1970s, it was strictly a military officer training school, men only. They opened it up to women in the 70s, and then now it's probably half women, and student population's like 70,000 or so. It's one of the biggest universities in the world. I did not originally go to this school because my dad, when I was growing up, he was in Vietnam. He was anti-military basically because of his experiences in Vietnam. So he didn't want me going to this school, even though it was now co-ed and it was considered a good school. He's like, nope, you're going to go to University of Texas or Texas Tech. So I ended up going to Texas Tech for one semester. And that one semester, I'm out in the West Texas. It's flat. It's out in Lubbock, Texas, in the panhandle of Texas. There's tumbleweeds blowing everywhere. There's huge cattle. So one weekend I took a road trip, about 8 hours by car from West Texas to College Station because I had a couple buddies that were at Texas A&M University. I'm 18 years old, and I went to a football game there. And when I went to Texas A&M, it was a totally different experience. All these traditions of don't walk on the grass around the student center. Everybody says howdy to each other. It's not hello or how are you. You're passing someone on the sidewalk. It's a constant howdy, 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 howdy. The traditions they did at the football game, everybody stood for the entire game. You never sat down. You never sat down unless you're like, handicapped or have a disability or something. You never sat down because 75 years ago, the team had some injuries and there's nobody left to play the game. So somebody came out of the stands and helped finish the game. So it's this tradition of 12th man. The Seattle Seahawks and a few others in the NFL copied it. We had to sue them, make them stop doing some of that. Or we came to an agreement. But anyway, there's all these still traditions. And I was like, it's almost like a cult in a way, but it's a university. I was like, this is cool. So I called up my dad and said, I'm transferring. He said, oh, no, you're not. And I said, I'm transferring. So he wouldn't talk to me for like a year. And so I transferred. My mom was supportive. And I transferred. But the fact is I found my tribe. I found my people. And there's an unwritten rule there that now I can be in Colombia. And this happened literally. I was in a little island, San Andres, off the coast of Colombia. It's actually off the coast of Nicaragua, but it belongs to Colombia. So it's a couple hours from the Colombian coast. And it's a little tropical island. And I went there with my ex-wife and a friend of hers. And I'm sitting in a restaurant in this random place in the middle of nowhere. And in comes a guy with a cowboy or with an A&M baseball cap, says ATM on it. Instantly, we have a bond. Instantly, there's a connection. This is one of my guys. I don't know him from Adam, but instantly he's one of me. The same thing happens with cigars. When you sit down, and you have cigars. It's almost like there's like this instant, like you said earlier, brotherhood, instant camaraderie, and then as you get to know people more and find out their business, you like you said, there's relationships that come out of this. Me and your relationship is fundamentally based on that in the beginning, and it grew from there. There's how many other people have we met doing this that you and I end up doing business with? We have them on one of our podcasts, or we see them at another event, and we get special privileges. I mean, here's another perfect example. As I was at Amazon Accelerate in Seattle last year, a conference that Amazon puts on, 2,500 people there, sellers. And this guy that I don't know at all, really, he was in Chicago when you and I were at this event in Chicago. He came out one night and smoked cigars with us. And you know what? I'm really bad with names, so I don't always remember everybody.
Let's
But
play charades.
he came out and smoked cigars with us that night, and we were talking. All of us were talking. Well, we're in Chicago, in Seattle, a couple months later, and I get this text message at the show one morning. And said, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe going to dinner with some people or something." He said, "You want to go to Beyonce? Beyonce's in town at the Seattle Seahawks Stadium. My company that I work for has the owner's box, or the box, the one of the main VIP suites." I'm like, "Hell yeah." I say, "All right, I'm inviting a handful of people, these other people." So there's like 10 of us. They go into this badass owner suite with full on drinks and food, perfect view of the stage, no crowds, no nothing, like easy access to get in really quick into the stadium and get out. Would that have happened if I had not been smoking cigars? No, I would have never met this person, never would have had that experience. So these things lead, just by putting myself in that situation, these things lead to a lot of other things, either business relationships or experiences that you're not going to get sitting around or just going to a club and yelling at someone over loud music in their ear.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And those clubs, especially for a guy that doesn't drink, when you pay $500 to sit in VIP and have Red Bulls,
Yeah, but see, that was
economically, but it's still fun. It's still,
I think he paid more than that.
I think I did.
This is so in Vegas, our buddy Tim Jordan, I think it's like 2018. This guy, he's a really good guy, really smart marketing guy, really smart networking guy. But he decided that this is before he knew a lot of people. He's like, "Man, I need to actually figure out how can I meet some of the movers and shakers in this." He's like, "I gotta look like a baller." So he's like, "All right, I'm going to go to Hakkasan, which is one of the biggest clubs in the Vegas. They have a couple clubs, one in the MGM and one in Caesars." And he meets the guy that books the clubs. He says, "How much to book a table? I want a VIP table for this DJ on this night." I don't remember who the DJ was. Decent DJ.
Zed.
Zed. Okay, Zed. And he's like, it's whatever the price was, 12 grand, 15 grand for bottle service. He's like, "Oh shit." So he scraps up the money, robbing Peter to pay Paul, moving stuff around on his credit card. And then he's like, "Who can I invite now? Now I've just wiped out my savings. Who can I invite?" And so he invites several people to come. And one of them was Norm. One of them wasn't me. It was my buddy Manny and Guillermo, but I got invited by them. And we ended up going to this, and it was a great time. So the next year, there's another conference in Vegas, and he's like, "Hey, I was like, "You doing this again?" And he's like, "I'm not sure." I said, "Well, I'll do it. And, but I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not paying 15 grand and let everybody come and just drink free alcohol on me. I'll organize it, but I want everybody to pay their fair share." So I was like, "Okay, we can have 12, whatever the number was, 12 people in the booth. The price, the minimum guarantee is 10 grand or whatever it is. And these are bottles that, a bottle of vodka is $650. It's a $30 bottle in your local liquor store, but $650. And so you have to commit to so many of them. That's basically the $10,000. And it's cool. They bring out, you have a private server. They bring out all the ice and all the accoutrements and the mixers and everything and the alcohol. And then you sit there and you're not sweating and grinding with people in a club. You have some space and it's cool. You get good views. But Norm decided, we messaged Norm, like, "Norm, do you want to come?" And he's like, yeah, I'm there. I said, "Well, I forget what the price was. I think it was like $700 or $800 a person."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And Norm's
That's Omnia, I think.
Yeah, it's Omnia nightclub. And Norm was like, that was his cut out because we took the price of the thing and divided it by 12 people. So it came out to something like $800 a person. And we told Norm, "All right, this is the price." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem. I'm there." And Norm shows up. Everybody else is drinking. Like, I'm going to get my damn money's worth out of this thing. Norm was like, "Another Diet Coke, please." "Another Diet Coke, please." "Another Diet Coke, please." Everybody's getting sloshed and figuring out which strip club they're going to go to when the thing lets out. And Norm is like,
"I'm there.
One more Diet Coke for the road, please." So I hope you got $800 worth of Diet Cokes that night.
They're about
they weren't even Coke Zero. You had to suffer with Diet Coke.
They're $150 a can. Slightly overpriced, but even
I hope they weren't expired. I hope they weren't expired.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope not. But You just talked about Tim, and talk about a marketing misfit. What a great way to get exposure into a business. And right after that, that was the talk of the town. And now it's kind of expected when we go out to Vegas, something's going to be happening at one of these clubs. Now,
that put him on the map.
Put him on the map.
He put him on the map. And out of that event, there's 8 of us at that first one, not the one where he had to pay $800, the very first one. And I remember I showed up there and he's like, who's this guy? Who the hell is this dude? I didn't invite this guy.
Yeah.
And now, we do a lot of business and we've done a lot of stuff together, but I got invited by Manny as a tag along or a +1, but look at what's come out of that and what he's done just by being innovative and thinking differently outside the box. And he took a big risk. His wife wasn't too happy about what he put on those credit cards. But that 15 grand, because I remember it was 10 or 12 grand. And then he ended up doing another round. So I think it actually might've gotten up into the 20 something thousand dollar range.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Because, but look at what's happened as a result of doing that. That's marketing. That's having a good time. But it's also marketing. And it's paid off immensely for him. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm always trying to think of. I call it guerrilla marketing. It's how can you do something differently and how can you set yourself up? And that's what you've done your entire life as well. And most people are like, this is how you make relationships. This is how you do this. And no, some of the best ways are the non-conventional ways.
Yeah. And he pulled it off, like you said.
Yeah. He pulled it off really good. So the other cool thing about cigars is we're on this cruise, and he'll be on the podcast on one of these episodes. But our buddy Ed, we on this cruise, we figured out this guy was a major smoker, and he knew his stuff. So once we figure out, okay, this guy's really serious, he gets the good cigars out. We have 2 cases. We have the good case and then the other case. So you can have $100 cigar or $150 cigar because we know you're not going to leave it half smoked on the table. So we're giving these. He's like, no, you don't have to give these to me. I'm like, no, just you're one of us. It's just our treat. It's fine. And he's like, he really appreciated it. So then he starts telling us like, oh, all right, there's this cool event called Smoke Week in Atlanta that we got to go to. And he's like, this club who was it? One of the football players, one of the quarterbacks, I'm drawing a blank right now, for the Carolina Panthers, owns it, owns this club. And it's like he said, it's like the best cigar bar I've ever been to. And he's like turns out he's been all over the world to cigar bars. So he's like, we got to make a trip there. But then he's like, you know what? You guys took care of me. I've got a connection in Cuba, and I can get some really good stuff.
The real McCoy.
The real stuff, not the stuff they send through the secondary market that you can buy in the U.S. or buy in the airport shop in Cancun or whatever. But like, this is like the primo stuff. I'm going to hook you guys up. We're like, normally, no, you don't have to do that. It's just bring something next time. He's like, no, I'm going to hook you guys up. So I show up, this was in January. I show up in March. You weren't able to make it, but I show up at the Prosper Show in Vegas. And here he comes. He's like, message me, hey, I gotta give you a package. Since Norm's not here, I got Norm's package for you too. I'm like, all right, cool. So the last day, he's like, I hadn't been able to meet up with him we'd met up on other things, but he didn't have the cigars with him. And so I messaged him, I go, and he gives me this huge freaking bag of cigars. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. He's like, no, these are like real things. There's like a $300 cigar in there, one for you and one for Norm. And there's this and this and this. So I've got Norm's bag here because Norm wasn't there. So he gave me his bag. And I've been going through it, and
smoking them.
Norm will never know what's in this bag because if I take this one out and swap it with this
That's what I thought. I knew you were going to do that.
You'll never know what was in this bag. So I'm like, Norm, these are pretty good. Look what we got.
You know what you're going to do? You're going to go and you're going to buy like a case of White Owls, and then you're going to take the label off and put them on the White Owl ones. So I'll get all these 50-cent cigars, and
you'll be like, "This is a $300 cigar. This tastes like a $5 cigar. What the hell? This is no good."
There is another cigar story that I think we should tell, and this actually led to a lot of business. We became business partners, but I was at a club in Tampa, and guy over at the bar just sitting there, and this is a tradition that Kevin and I have adopted. But I went over to the guy, and I was just at the bar, and he was smoking a cigar. And he said, "You a cigar smoker?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a cigar smoker." And then he tested me. He asked me a few questions. And he reaches into he had a suit jacket on. He reaches into his right pocket and he pulls out this really nice cigar and he gave it to me. I said, "Oh, thanks." And then he says, I have two pockets. The right that has all the good cigars, and the left, they have all the bands taken off. And these are so I don't have to, waste good cigars on people who are just going to put them down. And, let's let the cat out of the bag. When we go to these events, we've got the labeled and the non-labeled cigars. So some are in one case, some are in the other case. But
all those CMS cigars are in one case to give out to the people, and the other.
Don't say that. Those are good cigars. Last time I make cigars for us. But this turned out to be Ronald McDonald, the nephew of Dick and Mac McDonald. And he worked at the first McDonald's in San Bernardino. He worked with Dave Thomas. He worked with Colonel Sanders when they started their franchising all up the East Coast. He was the chairman of the, Young Entrepreneurs. President Bush gave him this title. Just wild guy. And I met him just at this lounge. And we ended up starting a company called 10th Power Media. And it was cool. I got to work with him for a few years, and he's still an awesome guy. We've gone on a few really awesome fishing trips together.
Yeah, it's amazing what it can do. I mean, so even if you're not a cigar smoker, and you're like you said earlier, like, ooh, that's gross. And there's a lot of women that smoke cigars too. It's, our friend Elena will come and smoke with us. Remember at the Driven conference in LA, we had quite a few women out there smoking with us as well. So, but still, if you just come and just sit, drink your water, drink your whiskey or your whatever your drink is, or and just hang. And what you're going to learn about life, about marketing, about opportunities, some of the relationships you're going to make can be extremely, extremely powerful. When you have like-minded entrepreneurs put together, and you hear stories, and it of some of the stuff that they've gone through, their trials and their tribulations and their wins, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah. So this is probably a great example, and our first example of just kind of going back and forth about a marketing misfit tale. And it's so incredible. A lot of people would never consider cigar smoking any form of marketing whatsoever, but sometimes these types of situations and these types of just events kill it. And you don't mean to. And it's not about profit. It's not about business. It's just about coming together, sitting down, chilling, and talking story.
I think it, like you just said, the marketing side, it's a branding thing too. I mean, look at yourself. For me, my branding, at least in the e-commerce world, the Amazon world, where I'm mostly known, is hacks. It's hacks, and now it's becoming cigars. Yours is, you're the beard guy. That was a marketing thing. Mm-hmm. You've admitted that I grew this beard because it's a marketing. How am I going to stand out? Everybody's going to remember the guy with the beard. But look at that logo that's right over your shoulder there, your right shoulder there. That logo is you with a beard and a cigar. So those two things, if they don't remember one, they're going to remember the other. But when you put them together, that's a unique USP. And that's something that nobody else, most other people are never going to be able to compete with. And when it comes to marketing and standing out, whether you're offering services, whether you're selling products, whether you're representing a company or you're just in sales, these are important things that matter and can help you be different. You're not just another guy in a suit or another woman in a dress. You stand out and you make a mark, and that's part of branding.
So at the end of the day, don't be afraid to be a misfit. That's all I have to say.
Well said. Awesome. This has been fun, Norm. We'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe next week, right? Maybe next week we'll have some more cool stories for people, or who knows? We might even have a really interesting guest that we'll be chatting with too.
Absolutely. Well, we can guarantee we'll always have a cool guest, and I love doing this. This is actually one of the things that I was looking forward to, is just kind of going back and forth with you, Kev, because we've got so many stories, so many adventures that we could be talking about. And yeah, that's it. So if you know of any marketing misfits, make sure you let us know, and we'll try to reach out to them to get them on the show as well. All right, everybody, I think that's it. Until next time.
Peace out.